From the outside, Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet's love story seemed meant to last always. Their life, one full of adventure, close connection, and relentless support, was much sought after by many. But behind the scenes, little cracks were developing, first, then impossible to overlook. Now, after 1 year, Jason is finally disclosing the reason their apparently flawless marriage fell apart. And his words startled even those closest to him. He even said at one point that she is disgusting. Still, what did he really mean? Was it a flash of wrath, or was there something more years-long brewing? Come explore with us the truth behind their split, revealing the secret battles, personal sacrifices, and unanticipated discoveries that transformed everything. From serendipity to forever, Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet married and met. The love story of Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet felt like something out of a dream, one that seemed momentarily unbreakable. Jason was enthralled from the time they first met, thinking Lisa was the woman he'd been waiting for his whole life. But what begins as a fairy tale does not always have a happy ending. Even the closest relationships can fade, and occasionally respect can evolve into something far more complex. Their trip started in Los Angeles in 2005 at a jazz club, where destiny seemed to bring them together. Long before they met, young actor Jason, still adjusting to Hollywood, had admired Lisa from a distance. He was enthralled with Lisa's beauty when he was a young child, seeing her famous Denise Huxtable on The Cosby Show, often joking with friends that he would one day marry her. This childhood love was something he carried with him into adulthood. What had begun as a crush finally found expression. Jason knew he had to leave his mark the moment he laid eyes on her. He was smitten, but Lisa? Notwithstanding their different ages, they had an obvious chemistry. 12 years older, Lisa was calm, smart, and grounded. She had already gone through motherhood, love, and heartache. Conversely, Jason was a wild spirit with almost childlike excitement, humor, and energy. She was still drawn to him, though. Jason was equally enthralled by her calmness and great intelligence, qualities he valued from a distance but had never really appreciated until he personally encountered them. Their relationship deepened based on passion, adventure, and a strong emotional connection. Jason's free-spirited and adventurous nature balanced Lisa's grounded, calm energy. It was obvious by the time their first daughter Lola was born in 2007 that this was more than just a fleeting affair. It was the beginning of a new family based on trust, love without conditions. Their bond seemed unwavering when their second child, Nakoa Wolf, arrived in 2008. Their commitment to one another only grew stronger. Still, appearances can be misleading, as life often shows. Marrying in a private and intimate ceremony, when they at last made it official in 2017, seemed to be the ideal ending to their love story. Benevolent headlines and adoring social media posts belied something else. The seeds of their separation weren't planted overnight, and although Jason once thought Lisa was his forever, the cracks quietly developing would soon be impossible to ignore. Every love story has difficulties, but for Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet, the cracks in their apparently flawless marriage were not just whispers in the dark. They were real, expanding, and too great to ignore. Once something made them inseparable started to drive them apart, the inquiry went beyond just what went wrong to include when Jason began to view Lisa differently. Jason and Lisa projected for years the picture of a couple perfectly in sync, effortlessly juggling family life with their respective careers, but Lisa's reality was different. While Jason's star power surged and he entered the heart of Hollywood with blockbuster films and countless possibilities. Having already gone through the highs and lows of life, she found solace in a slower life, far from the unrelenting speed of celebrity. Her priorities now were stability and balance, with an eye toward her family and preservation of peace. The man she developed feelings for had been following his dreams, but now he was living them. Life looked quite different from the one she had imagined. Rising to international prominence with Aquaman meant constant filming schedules, worldwide premieres, and an always increasing public presence for Jason. Every new position he took on and every red carpet event drew him farther away from the house they built. Lisa, who had already experienced the Hollywood craziness in her younger years, valued privacy, quiet times, and the grounding presence of their family in Los Angeles. She had no want to take front stage. The physical distance was reasonable at first, but with time, it evolved from miles to emotional. A fast-paced, always shifting environment of new co-stars, industry executives, and well-known contacts surrounded Jason all the time. Lisa, on the other hand, discovered herself still waiting for the man who had once been hers entirely. Lisa's close relationship with her ex-husband Lenny Kravitz fuels the fire, even if Jason had always been sympathetic to their co-parenting arrangement. Insiders claim his great friendship started to weigh on him. The fact Lisa kept such a strong emotional connection to her past, combined with Lenny's frequent presence in their life, produced a subtle but constant tension. Though publicly showing respect for Lenny, Jason battled the continual reminder of the life Lisa had before him. He had worked tirelessly to build a life with Lisa, but in some respects, he always felt like he was sharing her. Was he really the only chapter in her story, or was he simply another one? And then arrived the turning point. A single remark Jason would later regret set off a realization he could not ignore. "She's disgusting." A friend remembers a heated moment when Jason, overcome with frustration, supposedly mumbled under his breath. But was this an attack on Lisa or something more fundamental? A mirror of his own discontent, his own resentment. The tension simply grew. Another area of conflict for the couple was their different parenting styles. While Jason's more laid-back, free-spirited style embraced a more unstructured, adventurous approach, Lisa, organized and disciplined, wanted stability for their children. What once made them a great team now became a cause of continual conflict. Then, in 2020, the world changed. The COVID-19 epidemic made them spend more time together, something that ought to have drawn them closer. Rather, it highlighted their differences and revealed the growing rift. Routine and introspection gave Lisa comfort. Jason, used to movement and action, felt imprisoned. By the time their split was widely reported, the emotional distance between them seemed insurmountable. Jason had finally come to terms with something terrible but unavoidable years ago. Once unquestionable love had grown to be a weight neither of them could carry anymore. The shocking public split of Jason and Lisa by January 2022, what had been murmured behind closed doors, was finally revealed. With their surprising announcement of their separation, the couple who had seemed inseparable, Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet, shocked the world. Bound by love, adventure, and an unquestionable connection, was no more. Following more than 12 years of dating and 4 years of marriage, the couple posted a moving joint statement on social media verifying what few others had suspected: they had been quietly apart since October 2020. The disclosure fell to fans who had long admired their relationship like a gut punch. Two people who embodied harmony and dedication could have drifted so far apart. Though very personal, the comment was full of maturity and respect. It was not a dramatic split with no accusations or hostility. It was a quiet acknowledgement that their paths had diverged. "We have all felt the pressure and changes of these transforming times," they wrote, appreciating the great difficulties and changes in their personal life, as well as in the environment they live in. Underneath those words, though, the real question remained: had deeper unspoken conflicts at last reached their breaking point, or was this really about personal development? The degree of warmth still between them was even more unexpected. There was no bitterness, no guilt, just a mutual awareness that love by itself was insufficient to keep them together. The pair reassured supporters that their unflinching dedication to Lola and Nakoa Wolf, their children, remained. They made it abundantly evident that co-parenting would be a top concern and that both would remain committed to provide their children with a stable, loving home among personal life changes. It was a breakup devoid of spectacle, scandal, but did that mean it had been painless? For the public, the deed's riddle. Why now? Why did they decide to leave after years of riding the ups and downs of Hollywood and personal growth? Jason said nothing more regarding the choice, but the weight of the past and the tensions simmering under the surface could only remain latent for so long. The responses wouldn't come right away. It would take a year before Jason would eventually tell the truth that had stayed buried beneath their elegant farewell. And when he did, it was about the moment he understood their marriage was really over, not only about why they split. A peaceful ending. By January 2023, Jason and Lisa split amiably. Once apparently destined to last eternity, the chapter came to an end formally. Officially ended in a Los Angeles court closing, one of Hollywood's most loved relationships, Jason and Lisa's divorce. No scandal, no dramatic courtroom conflict, only a respectful farewell to the life they created together. The divorce records that were made public said that the couple had been split for over 2 years before making it public, and by the time the official paperwork was filed, they had already reached an agreement on every major issue: joint custody of their 2 children, Lola and Nakoa Wolf, and fair division of assets, often implying deeper, untold conflicts. But for Jason and Lisa, the meaning behind those words went far beyond a legal formality. While high-profile celebrity divorces often make headlines for messy legal battles, public accusations, and bitter feuds, Jason and Lisa's separation was anything but. Their approach to ending their marriage was a model of maturity and respect. Neither party sought spousal or child support, and both waived any financial claims, suggesting that they had already privately worked out their financial matters, perhaps one of the most startling aspects of their divorce. Income and assets were distributed with fairness and mutual respect, so sparing them the drama and stress of a protracted legal dispute. There were no charges or hostile interactions, simply two people quietly realizing their love had run its course. In a field where personal life is sometimes shattered for public consumption, insiders were quick to praise the couple for their calm and polite demeanor. Jason and Lisa chose a different road. Said a close friend of the couple, they have always been private people and have done all they could to maintain their personal life, just that person. Their children and ensuring their well-being always took front stage. The divorce was about ensuring they didn't cause undue hardship for their children, not about anything else. Their decision was based mostly on their relentless love to their children, Lola and Nakoa Wolf. One thing stayed clear: for all the changes Lola and Nakoa Wolf would be facing, they would never have to pick sides. Though they were no longer together as a couple, they agreed on joint legal and physical custody so that both parents would be equally involved in the life of their children. Though even in the smoothest of separations, emotions linger behind the amicable terms and peaceful resolutions, it was a silent promise to guard them from the turbulence that so often accompanies high-profile breakups. While the world watched a couple elegantly separating ways, Jason was struggling with something more, something he would eventually confess to. Jason knew that somewhere along the road, something had been lost. The reality reveals itself. Jason Momoa talks candidly on the actual causes of the split. For months, Jason stayed quiet, letting the world hypothesize. Though whispers of infidelity, career conflicts, and covert betrayals filled the headlines. Swirled theories. Jason wasn't ready to talk, not until now. After their divorce, he was at the crossroads of his life, praised for his success, but bearing the weight of an ending he never really saw coming. First, he avoided the questions, gently brushing off the conjecture with vague responses and polite smiles. But as time went on, the need to share his side of the story grew impossible to stifle. When he finally spoke after 1 year, his words created a picture far more complicated than anyone had anticipated. Jason finally opened up about the undercurrents gradually erasing his marriage in an exclusive interview. Though it was terrible, the truth also liberated him. He had spent years hiding his personal hardships under a surface of success, but now he was ready to face the truth of what had happened. I was having trouble finding a job a few years ago. Now his career is flourishing, he started, his voice steady but tinged with the weight of thought. Success carries some pride, but what nobody tells you is that it comes with a price. Jason stood still. He was obviously processing more than just the words he was using. This was about everything that success had taken from him, not just about a broken marriage. Lisa admitted she enjoys her life in Los Angeles and has no desire in accompanying me at every site I shoot at. Insiders close to the couple confirmed the strain that had developed between him and Lisa. Simple honesty in his tone contrasted with the glitzy image that so often surrounded him, couldn't be readily overlooked or corrected. For years, Jason had been another actor negotiating an industry that provided no guarantees. The distance, both physical and emotional, had become insurmountable. Then arrived Aquaman, and everything changed. Overnight, Jason became a worldwide celebrity caught in a life of non-stop publicity, high-stakes deals, and relentless travel. He was living the life he had only imagined. The work never stops, the shooting schedules are demanding, and the press tours run non-stop, Jason thought back. I had been on the road for years, the time zones are always changing, and I hardly have time to relax. But what I didn't know was that the person who had always been at my side, the one who had seen the difficult times, was being left behind. I moved farther away from her the more I chased success. As he remembered the many times Lisa had stayed behind, opting to stay in their Los Angeles house while Jason flew off to another filming site, his voice was deeply sad. He was hunting something else, something that carried him farther and further from the life they had created. Not only was distance a factor in our problems, Jason said, it was about the way success transformed me. I lost the person who knew me better than anyone else as I grew someone I did not know. By contrast, Lisa had always appreciated silence. She delighted in small pleasures, in the grounding energy of her house, but Jason was living in a world that insisted on more. more. He admitted she wanted peace. She did not need the continual grind of riches and glory. She was looking for something else, something slower. I was chasing excellence. Once a perfect balance, their fire and water, their adventure and stability had tipped too far. It was a slow realization crawling in like a shadow. At last, Jason acknowledged what many had guessed. We had just grown apart. It was the silent, indisputable truth that their lives were veering in different directions, not about treachery or a single explosive fight. He said, "I believe we both came to see that our lives no longer coincided. We were just two people heading in different directions, and we couldn't compel something that had vanished. It was simply what happens when life veers off course. Nobody was at fault." And then, just when it seemed he had said it all, Jason let slip a remark that caused the internet to go crazy. "You start to see things differently at some point. Sometimes I looked at her and felt she was repulsive." The interviewer staggered for a moment, though Jason swiftly corrected, "Not in the way people believe." The words sounded harsh and brutal. Jason shook his head. "We became strangers the way we saw each other, how we used to admire one another, respect one another. It changed, and it's difficult to pretend when that admiration disappears." Jason's words were an admission of something raw, something painful, not an attack. The woman he had loved, his universe, no longer looked the same to him, and he knew deep down she felt the same way about him. Jason had obviously at last come to terms with what had happened. His professional life had reached unthinkable heights, but it had cost him something priceless. Sometimes the toughest lesson of all is realizing that even the strongest love can fade when two people are no longer traveling the same road. The power of family, how Jason and Lisa healed among the emotional turbulence of their divorce with help from their children. For their children, Jason and Lisa discovered an unanticipated place for healing. Although their marriage may have ended, their responsibilities as parents grew ever more vital. Lola and Nakoa Wolf, their two young children, became the rock-solid anchor that kept them anchored and provided direction in an otherwise chaotic period. Jason, who had always been close to his family, would often talk about how profoundly parenthood changed him. Describing Lola and Nakoa Wolf as his lifeline through the worst of his life, he made it plain in interviews and public appearances how much they meant to him. For Lisa, motherhood has always been her compass. She committed herself to make sure her kids felt emotionally supported, safe, and secure, all through the divorce. She stayed strong, deciding to protect her children from any needless stress and provide them the stability they needed, even in times of personal heartache. Their allegiance to family stayed constant. Whether it was a quiet day at home or a special trip together, he made sure his children always knew they came first. Jason, despite his busy career and frequent travels, made every effort to be present. He not only kept Lola and Nakoa Wolf's devoted father, but also seized every chance to help Zoe, Lisa's older daughter from her former marriage. Though he is no longer Lisa's husband, he kept celebrating Zoe's achievements, proving that his love for his family went much beyond conventional boundaries. One thing became clear from all the changes: Jason and Lisa were no longer partners, but they would always be family. Their capacity to co-parent with grace and respect inspired me to show that even when love changes form, it does not have to vanish. And even if their past would lead them in different directions, their common love for their children would bind them always. For Jason and Lisa, what comes next? As time goes on, Jason and Lisa's supporters find themselves wondering about the likelihood of reconciliation. After all, their past together was full of love, memories, and events that define them as an iconic couple. Jason's life is now hectic, exciting, and full of fresh chances, but Lisa always subtly notes his past. An undercurrent of questions among supporters about whether the door to reconciliation is really closed or just waiting for the proper moment. Though their love for their children remains their strongest tie, and their ability to co-parent with respect and harmony speaks volumes about the depth of their relationship, Lisa too has found her own peace in this new phase of life. Like Jason, there is an unquestionable connection to their shared history that lingers in the backdrop, making the question of a romantic reunion all the more interesting. Their connection, their history, their love for their children, and their respect of one another define their mutual admiration, a silent understanding that transcends the romantic era. The question remains, would the passage of time and the personal development they have gone through bring them back to the love they once shared? Even if fans are hoping one day they may find their way back to one another, the future is still unwritten. Only time will tell if Jason and Lisa's tale is really over or if fate has one last twist left in store. Right now, There are only possibilities, rather clear answers. How do you view Jason and Lisa's relationship? Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave comments for us in the section dedicated for them. See you in the next video.